Hello, welcome back. Today I will be reading Project Sunlight. This has been a really interesting story for me to read, and I hope as I read it along, you guys will enjoy the story. Stay tuned. Thank you, and let us begin. The story upon these pages is a dramatization of the final events that await our planet, and the young woman's Sunlight, simply a composite of us all. She represents our need of the prince, a need that we must recognize and meet before we can be whole. For the sake of the story, I have taken an occasional liberty. Let the reader remember that God alone knows the details, and they are not necessary to our salvation. The real issue is not how he will come, or even when, but only whether or not you and I will be ready. Chapter 1. I am Jared, citizen of the universe, member of the Celestial Penmen. At the moment, my gaze is riveted upon the corner of Ridge and Jinsey streets in the city of Rochester, New York. While I am waiting, I will tell you why this particular spot on a tiny, faraway planet is so important to me. It is the sober assignment of the Celestial Penmen to chronicle the activities of planet Earth. We have recorded wars and treaties of peace, floods, famines, revolutions, eras of prosperity, and atrocities beyond our sanctified imaginings. The Church, of course, has been the focal point of our observations, the Prince having invested in it far more than it can ever comprehend. An old man just rounded the corner, a shabby, soiled old man, who long ago bruised the fragile, shimmering gift of life in grimy, careless hands. But the time is not yet, I am relieved. We, the Celestial Penmen, have been amazed at the short-sightedness of humans. They buzz about as if the Earth were the center of the universe, instead of just a speck in the cosmic dust. Mankind has little conception of its blight, though the King has spelled it out for them in the book they call the Bible. Many don't take it seriously. Some don't believe it at all, and even those who profess to follow the Prince often seem more excited about a new car, or a church social than about his return. He does have a few committed ones, though, and they bring him such joy. Sometimes he positively radiant watching one here. Sometimes he's positively radiant watching one here or there who's consistently his person. I used to feel a holy impatience with them all, for his sake. Their ingratitude seemed unpardonable. Such an arrogant race with so little to be arrogant about. But slowly, over the centuries, I've come to love them, especially since he went to live with them. Watching him out there, so much one of them, sometimes I had to take a second glance to pick him out of the crowd. I began to see them through his eyes. When I saw his weariness, I understood theirs. When the rebel pursued him relentlessly, I conceived the hopelessness of their condition. When he wept, I felt their tears. So it has been with a drawing compassion that I've recorded the activities of Earthlings over the past 2,000 years. A couple comes into view, a handsome couple in the prime of Earth life. She is holding his arm and they are laughing. Now what would I do with a couple when I am looking for only one. Fortunately, there are a few moments left. So let's get on with my explanation. Of late, I have grown weary of observing the masses, of transcribing their whimsical loyalties to one corrupt leader after another. My heart has bled for starving millions and trembled for the frolicking, indifferent rich. I have found myself with a persistent desire to concentrate upon individuals, though that is the direct assignment of the recording angels, a completely separate segment of the celestial penman. So obsessed did I become with the idea that I sought permission from the king himself to concentrate my attention upon one earthling. I made it clear that I did not desire to record the individual's every thought and motive with the precise accuracy required for the judgment, but simply to compile a more general observation of one human's reaction to the sin environment. He granted me permission, and I am more excited than I have been in centuries, though I cannot decide just why. I've had many suggestions from my fellow penmen, who graciously share my excitement. Some have urged I choose a newborn baby. Others recommend a youth of superior intelligence. I myself considered searching for a child of strong spiritual bent. But at the last I decided that I did not want any such controls upon my experiment. I shall pick someone at random. In fact, I decided yesterday, you will know I am already using the time terminology of Earth, that I shall concentrate my study upon the first person to round the corner of Ridge and Jinsey in the city of Rochester after 6 p.m. today. That moment even now approaches, and I am filled with anticipation, for my study shall center upon this particular citizen of Earth, whoever it may be, as long as his life shall last. This residential street is not busy at the moment. Most of the working class have already made their way home. The clock on the Midtown Bank says 5:56. I fasten my eyes upon the designated corner. Leaves swirl about the buildings in a brisk fall wind. They remind me that it must be very frightening to live on a planet where sooner or later everything dies. A boy races around the corner, tennis racket in hand, but it is only 5:59. I am almost sorry. He's a fine-looking lad. It is right now, the very next person. It is 6:02. Soon it will be dark and few will venture out, for the city streets of planet Earth are not safe at night. But wait, a small figure rounds the corner, her belted coat whipping in the wind. A young woman, or maybe not so young, 30-ish I'd say. Funny, I'd never thought of studying a woman. They seem rather complex creatures. She, lithe and quick in movement, is now backlighted with the late autumn October's sun's thin silver rays. Suddenly I know what I will call her. Sunlight. Of course, it is perfect. I watch her hurry down the street, mount the steps of an apartment complex, and take an elevator to the 7th floor. She seems nervous in the elevator, I note, as though she cannot tolerate delay. Finally, she enters an apartment on which the nameplate reads Meg Adams, and greets two small girls, one perhaps 9 or 10, the other about 6. For a moment, while she's hugging them, her face softens, but she tosses her coat onto the back of a chair, and her entire being is once more tuned to the pace of city earthlings. The older child, Sunlight calls her Jennifer, has hamburgers already sizzling in an electric skillet. and the other one is settling the table. Sunlight puts a tossed salad together, and they sit down to eat. I eavesdrop shamelessly, for I wish to learn everything about my new project as quickly as possible. I worry about your using the electric fry pan, Jen. You must be super careful, promise me. I won't get burned, Mom. Don't forget I'll be 10 in 2 weeks. Promise me, Jen. Okay, I promise I'll be careful. I wish you'd tell Carol not to eat Twinkies before supper. See, now she's just picking at her food. Your sister's right, Button. Absolutely no sweets before supper. Tell her to get off my back. She's not my boss just because she's 3 years older. Oh, yes, I am when Mom's not around. That's enough, you two. After hassling customers at the store all day, I can't take your squabbling when I get home. My nerves are shot. Now shut up. The two girls eat quietly, Silver and China fighting off the silence with business-like sounds. Sunlight leaves her meal half-eaten and moves to the couch to watch the news on television. Daddy called to say he won't stop by for us on Saturday. He's going to be out of town. Don't talk to me about your father. He hasn't been here for weeks. Why does he bother to call with those phony excuses? Hey, baby, don't look at that. He's not worth a single tiny tear. They tidy the kitchen and watch Happy Days before Sunlight sends the girls off to bed. She sits then in the dimly lit room, the smoke of a cigarette wreathing her small, well-shaped head. Her face in the shadows is pretty, yet somehow old and sad. I feel an anger as I watch her, an anger at the rebel, and what earthlings have endured at his hands. I long to write across the sky the simple solution to their predicament. Jesus Christ, Prince of the Universe, is yours, planet Earth. Yours to heal your sickness, comfort your loneliness, and make you whole again. Lift up your heads, laugh and dance and sing. Take the gift he's bought for you at such cost, and give him your love in return. But I know, even as I compose my celestial bulletin, eyes all dotted with stars, that men would barely lift their eyes to read, nor would they believe. They've seen Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Black Hole, so what else is new? Sunlight stubs her cigarette in the ashtray and dozes in her chair. Only a streetlight nudges the darkness about her, a darkness deeper than she knows. I look across the holy city to the throne, where the prince and his father can be seen together. There is light aplenty there, light enough to turn puny earth into a blazing sun. But it's not light that humans need so much as love. If only they knew that the prince bathes their small sphere constantly in his love. I feel the same loneliness in his eyes as he observes them that I saw in Sunlight's tonight, and I begin to understand a little of his sorrow. They need each other, those earthlings and the prince. They are bound together in some mysterious way beyond my understanding. Maybe it happened at the cross, or maybe before, in the stable at Bethlehem, or just when he walked their roads, ate at their tables, and touched their sick. Strangely, he is no less ours, because he is theirs, but they are indefinitely more ours, because they are his. And on that confusing observation, I close my journal for the night. 1 week has passed, and I know a great deal more about Sunlight than when I closed this journal last Tuesday. She works in cosmetics at Sibley's downtown store, looking very chic and professional, as do most of her fellow workers there. Conscientious, she gives her She gives each customer a courteous attention, yet an anger festers within. Her conversation with her fellow workers is witty and intelligent, but often cynical. She is shattered at the very core of her being, as are many earthlings. But she functions on the residues of that magnificent resilience with which the prince endowed man at the beginning. Sunlight forces her doubts and fears into the far corners of her mind, where, unfortunately, they smolder. Sometimes irritation even tinges her love for her children, because she has to be both mother and father to them. She envies what she interprets as their carefree existence. They aren't, of course, carefree. The bitterness between their parents has washed over them until already their spontaneity has succumbed to a puzzled, painful acceptance of life. I am beginning to realize that my journal cannot be the simple telling of Sunlight's story, for so interwoven are Earthlings' lives, I shall find myself, of necessity, including others in my study, but only as I must to record every facet of Sunlight's experience. It pains me when she is harsh with her children. They seem so defenseless, though the little one is strong-willed and stands her ground. If only I could connect Sunlight with the prince. That, however, is the Earth Friend's work, and though his presence is ever about her, she senses no need of his help. It is frustrating to be limited to watching. I have new respect for the work of the recording angels. What sadness they must have endured over the years as they watched millions of individuals live out their days with no interest in heaven's concern for them, only to die fearful and alone. But that must not be Sunlight's fate. Followers of the prince dwell all over her city. Surely one of them will seek her out and tell her of him. It is Saturday night. For some reason, Earthlings experience a kind of madness on Saturday night. Even the most docile of them go out to eat or settle about the television in their homes with bowls of popcorn. But the restless ones, ah me, what they don't resort to quiet their loneliness. The cities teem with ugliness. Sunlight is disco dancing with her friend, a young man she has known since childhood, a rather decent young man, all things considered. He takes her dancing and tries to fill the gaps in her life with his friendship. I watch them now as best I can through the smoky haze. She is like an autumn leaf in her swirling red dress, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Both she and her friend, whom she calls Michael, are caught up in the frenzy of the dance, an almost hypnotic blend of light and sound and movement, far removed from the peaceful land in which I dwell. Sometimes, on Saturday nights, I despair that men will ever find the prince, that when he returns to bring them home, he will discover that no one awaits him. But of course, that will not happen. I am only discouraged because it sometimes seems that planet Earth is ablaze with its own destruction. Later in the car, they talk, Sunlight and Michael. The flush of excitement has subsided, and she is pale and tired, almost as though her soft red dress is consuming her delicacy, like flames nibbling at a paper flower. How come How come we had to leave early? I'd like to dance forever. Why? Because when I'm dancing, especially if I have had a few drinks, I can forget. I don't worry about the girls. I don't think about Jim. I don't remember all those picky middle-class matrons at the store. I forget how eerie the apartment gets after the girls go to bed at night. I forget how afraid I am of all the years ahead. What if I get sick and can't pay the rent? What if the girls become wild teenagers and I can't handle them? What if I can never love anyone again, or no one ever loves me? See why I like to dance, Michael? You know I won't let anything happen to you. I suppose you're going to stay single all your life, just in case I stub my toe. I'll be here tomorrow, and the next day. Isn't that good enough for you? I see the years just unrolling ahead of me, dull and empty. Her cigarette glows red in the darkness. And then death. I'm scared of death, Michael. Even more scared than I am of life. Those are long thoughts for a young woman, Maggie. You need your rest. That's why I brought you home early tonight. When you get up tomorrow, your fine death will keep his distance. Huh? Sometimes he walks to work with me. But forget it. Thanks for everything. Next Saturday night, get yourself a carefree chick who's not wallowing in self-pity. If it weren't so ironic coming from me, I'd even go so far as to suggest that you get married. I've considered it. He walks her to the door of her apartment, promises to call, and drives the babysitter home. Sunlight turns out the lights, gets into her robe, and sits a long time looking out across the lighted city. The ashtray is full when she finally draws the drapes and goes to bed. I have wondered much about Sunlight's ex-husband. Today he came to take the girls on an outing. Overjoyed, they threw themselves into his arms with an enthusiasm I had not seen in them before. I decided he could not be all bad. In fact, I have yet to discover an earthling who is all bad. A short, athletic-appearing young man, he was a little uneasy in his visitor's role. He made light chit-chat with the children as they slipped into their coats, even trying to draw Sunlight into the conversation, but she would have none of it. Sometimes I think I chose a most inappropriate name for her, but she does have reason to be hurt, and her hurt erupts as fierce hostility. After he had gone, she flew into a fit of house cleaning, where none was really needed. A tidy housekeeper, she has little upon which to vent her frustrations in time of need. I noted, as she scoured the bathroom tile, that tears ran down her cheeks, though she made not a sound. Now he has brought them home, his daughters, disheveled and rosy from a canoe trip on the Jinsei River. A young woman, whom I assume is his new wife, waits outside in the car. I'm sure he can tell Sunlight has been crying, though she barely acknowledges his presence. Jennifer and Carol bubble over with the adventures of the day, but Sunlight shoos them off to the tub. Jim attempts to break through her defense. Can't we be friends, Meg? At least for the sake of the girls? Your concern amazes me. You haven't seen them in a month. It's not always easy. Marie often makes plans for the weekends in which two little girls just don't fit. I'll bet she does. Other people get divorces and go on being friends. Why must you be so difficult? I know the alimony's not a lot, but it's the best I can do at the moment. I didn't set out to fall in love with someone else. It just happened. I'm sorry, Meg. I really am. I've told you that 100 times. Please go, Jim. You can come for the kids any time, but don't ask me to listen to your theatrics afterward. And don't keep Cinderella waiting. She might turn into a pumpkin or whatever. I still like your wit. I still like your wit, even when it's sticking in my back. Good night, Meg. The prince came by just now and asked me how I was getting along with my special project. When I told him, he smiled and was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "So you call her Sunlight? That is good. Write your story well, Jared, and in the writing you will learn much." Now what did he mean by that? But he knew her instantly by my description. He knows each earthling as if there were no other. I fear the joys of this land will mean nothing to him until he brings them home. Okay, that's where I'm gonna end it. It's the end of chapter 1, and tomorrow, if I have time, I will read chapter 2 to you. Okay? And once again, this is Project Sunlight by June Strong. Bye.